Noel, welcome to Mea Culpa. First time on. Appreciate having you. So much going on. I do want, of course, tell my audience, because we have a big audience, that right now Noel is involved in litigation with Rudy Colludi, Drunken Giuliani, and accordingly, there might be some questions that I'm going to ask that she may not be able to answer. So let's just kind of respect that. But in line with Mea Culpa, the hour goes by way too quick because I have about 1 million questions for you. So we're going to jump just right into it. What I'd really like you to do, Noel, is take us back to 2016 and then to 2018. How you initially met Rudy Giuliani, that's around the second time when he became Trump's personal attorney, took the position that I had prior. Now, at the time, he was operating out of an apartment, I think somewhere in the 80s. What was the context of the very first meeting? And then tell us the second meeting, and how did he present job offers to you at both of those meetings?
First of all, Michael, thank you for having me. I'm honored to be on your show and to talk with you. And I have great respect for what you've done in writing your books and telling your story, which interestingly enough overlaps with my story in so many ways. So yes, to go back to 2016, when I met Rudy Giuliani, or he met me, I guess you could say, when he was also with Donald Trump and the Trump family. You may have been there that day, Michael. This was at the Trump Tower, 56th Street Trump Tower on Fifth Avenue. This occurred in the lobby, the private residence only lobby of Trump Tower. And I know Donald Trump was working upstairs when Rudy first started coming over to me and wouldn't really let me go for a while, kept talking and talking and talking and interviewing me until he decided that I just simply had to work for him. He had to have me. I don't know. Would you have been there that day? 2000?
No, I wasn't there. I mean, I could have been, but I wasn't there that day. You know, I've never been a fan of Rudy's. So the more Rudy would come around, the more I would just sort of invent things that I had to do. I didn't like him when he was mayor. I didn't like him at all.
It's funny you say that, because in so many books by people like John Bolton and various intelligent people who worked at the White House, they felt the way you felt. And all the intelligent people would scatter when they heard Rudy Giuliani was coming to the White House. They actually would give him the wrong day and time often, because they knew that he was, we'll just leave it at that, he was crazy and drunk. So they didn't want
toxic. I used to say he was just toxic. Yeah.
They didn't want him around Trump because they figured Trump will definitely get arrested if he is caught in conversations with Rudy Giuliani. And of course, that's what ended up happening, as you know very well.
So then tell us about the 2018 meeting, and, tell us about these job offers that he came to. I know he liked you. I read some of the complaint that he was attracted to you, both because you're Ivy League student. On top of that, your background sort of comports to his. Give us a little flavor for these meetings.
Right. So the first time in 2016, he started asking me my career background. And when he heard that I can do business development and consulting for him, or at least in his mind, everything I had done in my past would work for him. He knew he could use me to make money, to make tens of millions of dollars. And that's what he did. He put me under his property. I was his property, as he liked to say. And under his whatever you want to call it, his leadership. I hate to use that word for him. Under his leadership, I was to, continue to bring in multi-million-dollar clients to Giuliani Partners, which was a consulting firm, and he was a law firm. He was a sole practitioner by the time I started working for him, because he had been fired and asked to leave Greenberg Traurig, where they are intelligent enough to know that when a partner is going senile or crazy or drinking scotch every day too much, that person should go. Also, he wasn't bringing in any more money for the law firm
Right.
because he was only volunteering for Trump, pro bono legal representation. And whether or not that's true is a whole other story. But yeah, so he was this lawyer and consulting firm, security consulting and all sorts of things. And he knew that I could help him make money. And he later admitted to me that he also hired me because he thought I was sexually attractive to him, and that once he started speaking with me the first few weeks, and now this jumps to January 2019 when he interviewed me a second time after I had said no. The first time I said no, I didn't want to work with him. He insisted. I never called him. I never gave him my contact information, never followed up, not by email, nothing in 2016, just no. And, no, the offer's waiting for you. It's going to be so much pay. You have to call me. You have to show up at my office. You're starting on Monday, the whole 9 yards when I first met him. So now fast forward to 2.5 years, Michael, he finds me on the internet. He finds me on social media. And this is when he was really lonely and drunk. And I know he was drunk when he found me on social media because he spelled his own name wrong. And he wrote me a message that had so many typos, there's no way that he would misspell his own first name. Unless.
Yeah, exactly. It's funny. I have a very similar sort of scenario in 2017. I had actually created my own consulting, which arrived as being personal attorney to the president. I called it Essential Consultants. That was the same company that I had used within which to pay Stormy Daniels. But I ended up with multinational companies, a handful. I'm there at the Trump Hotel in DC, and Rudy was with a handful of different people. Started off the mornings with his Chardonnay. By 3:00, it switched over to the Scotch. And, after very long meetings with various different clients, there in DC, I would return back to the hotel. He would be there. I would either come over to him. He came over to my table, and he would ask me if I would join Giuliani Partners, only because he knew of the multinational. I was like, I got to be honest with you. I have a pretty good gig going. I've got enough people. He goes, we could bring them all over together. We can take over the entire consulting world, and so on. I was like, you know what? Yeah, it's not really work. That wouldn't really work for me. I'm kind of, I kind of have to be my own boss. I've worked for Trump as his number one for a long time. So it's time for me to enjoy. So I understand, and he throws out wild, statements. We can make, $100 million together a year. What did he offer you? I'm curious. What was the big offer? What was his hook to try to bring you in? Again, you're Ivy League, right? You had your own contacts. This is what you were doing, which was consulting and business development.
Yes. And I have a background in corporate communications and media relations, PR, also working with law firms, marketing and bringing in new clients. So I fit the bill in a professional way. And then unfortunately for me, I physically fit his type. He as he calls it. He told me later that I'm his type, and he knew from the first second he saw me, he had to have me get to his. He said the first second. He knew he had to fly me to New York, because now I was in Palm Beach, when he was talking. And when he hired me officially, when I said yes, because I was in a different financial situation and legal situation. So I said yes. When I said yes, he said that he knew that he would have to fly me from Palm Beach to New York, and try to impress me so that he could, have me. And by have, he meant sexually. So Yeah, to answer, well, which question should I answer first?
Either one. I mean, what was the offer? Obviously, right. I mean, the gig was not predicated on, let's say, you wouldn't take the job simply so that you could lay in bed with Rudy Giuliani like Borat's daughter. I suspect. So, what was the hook
No,
that he was trying
there
to
was
get
no
you?
sex discussed before I accepted the offer. So a lot of
Uh-huh.
the media or people on Twitter misunderstood my lawsuit. I know it's very long. It's hard for people to read, but no, I wasn't agreeing to work for him in exchange for sex or whatever.
Right. Of course not.
That was not the job offer. The job offer was to work for Giuliani Partners. And 2019, January, he was the president's attorney and he was rising in stature again.
Hmm.
President Trump at that point, had established himself as the guy who won in 16. He was the sitting president. I had more respect for both President Trump and Rudy Giuliani in 2019 than I did in 2016 when I thought, oh, wow, these two guys are never going to win. I just didn't see
Giuliani
that.
had nothing to do. By the way, Giuliani had nothing to do with the entire campaign. I mean, I know he likes to turn around and tell people he had nothing to do with it. Look, I know I'm the guy who started the whole thing.
Yeah.
So I mean, I was there. Rudy took over again my position as personal attorney, which is something that he wanted because I myself refused to engage with him and to merge my essential consultants into his Giuliani partners, right?
Right.
I mean, so sure, if you can't get the person to come over, well, then just step on him and then make sure that you take the role. Of course, the difference is Rudy's incapable of doing what I did. He doesn't have the ability. It's funny. People think of Rudy as something really special. Oh, he
Yeah.
was America's mayor. Only, unfortunately, because of 9/11. Other than that, he was a pretty unqualified guy, for the mayors. But it was a shit time in New York City, right? What made Rudy unfortunate was 9/11. So, you know what? I want to just jump into something for a second because I also saw, that he was trying to offer you $1 million a year as a salary. That's always Rudy's hook, but there comes with a cost to it. So yeah, it's $1 million a year, but because of issues he was going through personally, everything had to be deferred. He blamed everything on the divorce. He couldn't pay this one, couldn't pay that one. I mean, I can't tell you the number of people that have said that he owes me like $1.5 tons of money. Always pushing it off. I can't because if I show it, then Judy's coming after me and so on. Yeah, that's the Rudy shtick.
Well, I'd love to hear about these other people. I hope he doesn't owe you money, Michael, because
No,
for
no.
some reason, even though he pretends to be friends with some Jewish people, he first of all hates Jewish people and Black people and basically most of the people who live in New York City, the city where he was mayor.
It's okay. We hate him too.
Yeah. I mean, how could you have been a partner with him if he's saying anti-Semitic things in the office? I mean, I think you would have punched him the first week of work. And I am a wallflower sometimes when it's, this is my childhood hero. When he started saying anti-female, anti-Jewish, anti-gay, or anyone who's even slightly different, the Hispanics, they're all bad. The things he would say, I did not know how to react. And Michael, I'm so ashamed that I didn't punch him in the face, but I'm not that kind of person. I don't punch anyone in the face. Times I've been raped and robbed and pickpocketed. I don't do anything. I just stand there like, frozen in fear. And I should have walked out or done something, but I couldn't. To go to your question, how did he lure me in? It wasn't just the high salary and it wasn't just working with the president of the United States and America's mayor. It was more. He saw that I was vulnerable because I had been in a domestic violence relationship and I had been beaten up and I was actually Black and blue. And he seized on that. He offered to be my pro bono lawyer. So he had 2 pro bono clients. He had Donald Trump, the president, And he had Noelle Dunphy, the little scared girl, the damsel in distress. And he loved that because he used it to control me.
Understood. So, look, you've said that right away, the professional boundaries blurred faster than anyone could reasonably expect. Was there
Pretty,
ever a moment? What's that?
yeah, he became verbally and physically abusive pretty quickly after my first day of work.
Well, that's like what I wanted to ask you. Was there a moment, like a single comment or a physical interaction, where you realized, oh shit, this isn't a workplace, right? This is a trap?
Oh, I never realized it was a trap. Honestly, I didn't know what grooming was back then. And I've since been taught by therapists and lawyers and experts that what Jeffrey Epstein did to the girls, and we'll get into that, I hope, later or on another show. What Jeffrey Epstein and Harvey Weinstein did to those girls, Rudy did all those things to me. The really nice, really generous, and then really abusive and doing things that no one should do to anyone, but then countering it with, but I'm going to give you $1 million and I'm going to be your lawyer in your domestic violence case. I'm still your hero.
Sure.
And it's that, really great, really awful dynamic that makes the girl confused and scared and not able to leave because you're thinking, but well, I have all this back pay I've accumulated. I have to go to court in my domestic violence case to stick up for myself finally. And this is my lawyer. I can't tell on him for raping me or beating me up or verbally being completely inappropriate. I can't tell on him because it's the carrot and the stick. You understand, Michael, because that may have even been part of your job working for, powerful people to issue.
No, I never had that one with Trump, believe it or not. But let me go on 1 second to say that, I've been told that Rudy at times would brag to people that he had total immunity because
Yeah,
of
to me,
his
he would.
relationship with Trump. How did he use Trump's name? Trump used to say that early on, that many people used to use Trump's name for their own benefit. Rudy, of course, being one of them. Or not just Trump's name, but his own political clout to intimidate, manipulate, or silence you specifically.
Yes. Well, that moment when I realized that this is not a normal boss or lawyer, was profoundly marked by what you just described, him using Donald Trump's name. I mean, you could even say him taking Donald Trump's name in vain, because there is no way the president authorized Rudy Giuliani to say that I'm allowed to be raped. And if I tell anyone, I'm going to be destroyed by Donald Trump's fixers and private detectives. There's no way that the president would allow Rudy to make that threat. I know that Rudy said a lot of things that Donald Trump doesn't realize. Rudy incriminated the president time after time on various crimes, to me, as well as to other people. And I don't think the president realizes everything Rudy did that was unethical or illegal. He would blame President Trump, and he would say that it's okay. He would tell me not to worry, because I would say, Rudy, you can't do that. I think that's illegal. Or the New York Times said that's illegal. You've got to stop doing that. You're going to get caught. You need to retire. You need to get the hell out of Washington.
Can you give me like one example?
For example, with I'll give you a very small crime.
Yeah, please.
Is his FARA violations. I was in charge of managing Rudy Giuliani and Giuliani partners. So when he was violating FARA in front of me, left and right, I was also reading the New York.
Just so my listeners know, FARA is the Foreign Agent Registration Act. But how would that have any implication to Trump on that?
Because he would do exactly what you just said, Michael, in your question before. How did he use Trump's name to say I have immunity? That's how. When I said to him, Rudy, I just read an article in the New York Times. Read this. It says that you may be violating the Foreign Agent Registration Act and that you could go to jail. You could be arrested. You need to fill out the FARA form right now. I will fill it out for you. Let's print it out. If I can't answer,
it's a one-page form. It's a one-page form. What's the big deal?
I will do it for you, and I will file it right now because you're going to go to jail, according to the New York Times article. I mean, the writing was on the wall, and then eventually he was officially investigated for FARA. They only cleared him because it was his old office. The SDNY of New York was very corrupt under Giuliani, and for some reason they let him get away with it. Of course, he violated FARA. It was a black and white. I have black and white evidence that he violated.
Do you know if Rudy was involved at all when I was then investigated by the Southern District of New York? Because I've had some federal agents turn around and tell me that Rudy was in communication with the Southern District of New York after, I believe it was Andrew Weissman sent the files over to Jeffrey Berman to continue investigating me, despite the fact that they had now figured out I had never been to Prague. I'd never been to the Czech Republic. I was not involved with Russians. There was no compromise. A lot of people turn around and have told me that it was Rudy that was pushing his old office to open the investigation.
Michael, do you realize that I have all your legal files and like tape recordings of you talking to people? Do you even realize that? I have
I'm
those
sure.
Because of Rudy. Rudy was given so many of your files, and I believe it's your lawyers. I believe it's your lawyers who violated privilege and sending some of your files to Rudy. Maybe we could talk about it another time.
You know, folks, when I first got my hands on the iRestore Elite, the big one, the fancy one, I thought, great. Now I'm wearing a glowing red space helmet. I mean, I looked like I was auditioning for the world's saddest Daft Punk tribute band. But let me tell you something. This thing, it's comfortable. You put it on your head, you hit the button, and suddenly you've got 500 lights doing more for your scalp than my lawyer ever did for my career. I mean, I wear mine while I'm answering emails, drinking coffee, plotting revenge, whatever. And here's the shocker. My hair, it actually starting to look fuller. I mean, even my wife said, Michael, you're finally reversing something for once. I mean, that's true love, right? Now, I've tried other LED masks in the past. Most of them felt like strapping a hot lunch tray to my face. But iRestore, it's lightweight, easy, there's no drama. And when you pair the Elite with the Revive Plus Max Growth Kit, that shampoo, conditioner, serum, the whole Avengers cast of hair products, it's like your follicles enter witness protection and come back with a new identity. It's stronger, thicker, it's ready to testify. Gummies, they're delicious. I mean, dangerous. I ate 2 and I had to stop myself from tearing through the rest like they were Halloween candy. And look, the holidays are here. You're going to be in photos. You're going to see relatives who still think that you peaked in 1998. So why not show up with better hair than half the people who used to judge you? And plus, this thing is packed with serious science. No joke. Triple wavelength tech, wider beam coverage, all engineered to wake up those lazy follicles and send them back to work. Shutdown's over. And the best part? There's the 12-month money-back guarantee. Let me say that again. A 12-month money-back guarantee. And if your hair doesn't start making a comeback tour, you get your money back with no weird questions. So here's the deal. Huge Black Friday savings all month long. And you get an exclusive discount when you use my code Cohen, Cohen, at iRestore.com. That's again, code Cohen, Cohen, at iRestore, iRestore.com. Support the show, support your hair, and please tell them that I sent you so they don't think I wore this glowing helmet for nothing. You ever have one of those nights where your brain just won't shut off? Well, unfortunately, I do. I'm lying in bed, thinking about a million things that I can't control, scrolling my phone, tossing and turning. Sleep, well, feels impossible. That's me until I found IndaCloud. And finally, my mind could actually rest. IndaCloud is your online cannabis dispensary. Gummies, flower, pre-rolls, all federally legal, DEA certified, lab tested, shipped discreet. When your thoughts won't stop, well, at least your brain can. First time I tried IndaCloud, I wasn't trying to escape the world. No, I was just wanted one night when my brain could actually relax. And one gummy later, I actually slept instead of staring at the ceiling, thinking about everything all at once. Sleep gummies for quiet in the chaos. Social snacks for when you want to hang with friends without losing your mind. Dispensary grade edibles for when your thoughts won't let up. And $70 ounces because peace of mind shouldn't come with a luxury tax. This is how you unplug without falling behind. Calm brain, world still spinning. Sounds perfect. So if you're 21 or older, go to indacloud.co and use code Cohen for 40% off your first order plus free shipping. That's indacloud.co, indacloud.co, and use code Cohen, Cohen, for 40% off. Free shipping, a quieter break for you. Unsubscribe from one alert, grab ounces instead. Enjoy responsibly, and thanks to IndaCloud for sponsoring today's episode. Yeah,
But
we sure will.
I've tried to write to you and warn you because I have so many of your things that Rudy Giuliani should never have had. They were, I believe it was a violation of your privacy and also your lawyer-client privilege.
Interesting. Yeah. Well, let me then ask you this, because in your lawsuit, you described being forced to work out of Rudy's apartment while he was drunk, medicated, or both. Do me a favor, for my listeners, paint that picture for them. What did a typical day look like inside that environment? Was it anything like what took place in that movie with Borat's daughter, the one where all of a sudden he's laying down on bed, the penguin, which I call him because he schleps his back fucking leg, the piece of shit that he is, right? Opening up his pants and so on for this young girl. Give us an inside look.
Right. It was just like the Borat scene, but so much worse. The first time it happened, I'm literally taking a shower in a room, my private suite, and I am getting out of a shower and I'm naked and I'm drying myself and I'm opening the bathroom door, and guess who's in my private bedroom is Rudy Giuliani. And then he attacks me as I'm trying to get ready for a meeting with Lev Parnas. We're having a meeting with some Ukrainian businessmen and we're trying to get ready and go to the meeting. We have a guy with a gun guarding us while I'm being raped. It was somewhat similar to the scene in Borat, except it wasn't a comedy. And I was forced to shut my mouth and act like it was a comedy or like it was just a normal day.
Well, where was the guy with the gun? Was he outside the door? Was he in the room? Is he a voyeur? What's the scenario there?
Well, you probably know Rudy Giuliani always has a bodyguard, a big guy, an NYPD guy, or a police officer who's retired, who's following him around to guard his body, not mine, if you know what I mean. I mean, the police were not there to protect me. The police were there to intimidate me. And in the movie Borat 2, you see the same thing. Did you know they called the police that day at the Mark Hotel when Rudy was with Sacha Baron Cohen and the the allegedly 15-year-old girl? The police were there to arrest the girl and Sacha Baron Cohen. The police did not come to say, why is this guy taking his pants off with a 15-year-old or a girl he thinks is 15? And I knew if I called the NYPD when he assaulted me in his New York guest suite, I knew if I called the police, they were on his side. They were already there guarding him, this one police officer, guarding him so he could assault me. I didn't even know it was coming. This was in the daytime. I was literally just off a plane trying to quickly change clothes and go to a meeting, a business meeting with Lev Parnas and his son and other business people. Rudy said, for Giuliani Partners, we have a meeting with Ukrainian businessmen. Okay, I'm getting ready for the meeting. Not expecting Giuliani to do that.
Now, I'm sure most people, as the lawsuit progresses, or who are listening to this podcast, would turn around and say, well, did you go back to work the next day? How much longer did you work for him. You follow where the question sort of comes.
Of course.
Most people don't understand
Being
the
trapped.
grooming and being right,
I was
and so on.
trapped. I couldn't
And
leave. I was living in Palm Beach. I had had a breakup with a boyfriend in New York. I was living on the Upper East Side of New York for 2 years with a great guy. So we broke up. So I got an apartment in Palm Beach for 6 months. I figured, you know what? I'll work from Palm Beach. I'll work remotely. This is, December 2018. Rudy Giuliani, now that I have nowhere to stay in New York because I gave up my apartment in New York, I am a Palm Beach, renter for 6 months. He decides in Palm Beach, I'm hiring you, but you got to now work in New York. So now I'm thinking, oh, okay, I'm going to need a place to stay. And he insisted something that was true, which is that a lot of the girls who work for him sleep in his guest suite. Now that's Maria Ryan, Dr. Maria Ryan. Even though she's not a doctor, she went to a school that doesn't exist. It's, was an online university, and then it was disbanded and, unaccredited since then.
Was it Trump University?
She basically went to Trump University, but she went to the equivalent of a former Trump University that's no longer accredited, but calls herself a doctor and worked at a medical facility. So it's extremely confusing to patients that this doctor really shouldn't be doing surgery on them, but she gave a lot of COVID advice. Rudy gave a lot of COVID advice because really they know all about COVID more than doctors. So she used to sleep at Rudy Giuliani's guest suite. Now, I didn't know they were having sex. I mean, I didn't know that back then. Of course, now I have all their love letters because they're on my computer, and it's disgusting. And also Christiane Allen, the young female, a teenager. She was 18, 19 years old when she started working for him, and he wanted to have sex with her too, he told me. And it's all on tape, Michael. It's everything I said.
I was let me ask you about that, because Rudy loved to record himself. Not to mention, I believe you recorded him as well. All right. The funny thing is he denies the authenticity of your tapes.
He won't be denying it for long.
But when you hear him deny what you know is on those recordings, what's your immediate reaction?
Well, Michael, I'm sure it's like when people deny knowing you. I don't know if that's happened to you, but with Lev Parnas, everyone denied meeting Lev Parnas, except for me. I mean, I've met Lev Parnas. I'm not going to deny it. I worked with him under Giuliani Partners, but President Trump and Rudy Giuliani have no memory of Lev Parnas all of a sudden, as soon as Lev flipped. So it's par for the course, Michael, right? So if you accuse someone of doing something illegal, of course they suddenly don't remember you. What? I've never seen that woman before. He told Bob Costello,
I know Bob Costello.
I know you do. We're going to get into that on a separate show. Rudy Giuliani told Bob Costello to tell my lawyers that Rudy doesn't know me, and to tell the newspaper that Rudy doesn't know me. And I won't even tell you what was on the tape recording that we then sent Bob Costello. It was an absolutely disgusting tape recording. And Bob Costello heard the tape, and I think what he said was, oh, wow, I guess they've met.
Yeah. Bob Costello, it's very interesting because when I was going through my shit and then Bob Costello was lying, all about me, the craziest part is he plays up the fact, well, I was a former prosecutor. I had been, a prosecutor for like 25, 30 years, whatever it was. And he tries to play on that in order to give him credibility. The funny thing is, it was proven that he was lying, and yet there was no fucking accountability to Bob Costello for the lies.
Not yet.
No, I'm talking about as it related to me.
Why can't you go after him now and sue for defamation?
Because the statute of limitation, I believe, is well past due.
Yes, but you don't have my evidence yet.
Well, that's true. I don't. I wish that when Bob Costello was coming out on television, basically disparaging me every day, when he was the one who was lying, not just to obviously to the president, but to the American people, to the court, when he went in and he lied to the court, that when the court realized that he was lying, they didn't bring him up on perjury charges either. It's incredible that my lie, what I told Congress, the number of times that I spoke to Trump about the failed Trump Tower Moscow real estate project, I said 3. I said that I only spoke to Trump about it 3 times, when the true answer was 10. Now you take the Costello lie, which is like 10,000 times more significant than 3 versus 10 on a failed real estate project, and nobody brings fucking charges against any of these people.
Michael,
That's the problem with our system.
Yes. And I have to ask which lie you're referring to by Costello, because I do know he's lied more than once, so it's a little confusing to me. When you say the time he lied in court, do you mean during the felony trial for the president?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. Which lie are you referring to?
When I forget exactly his words, when he turned around and he said that either I was asking for a pardon or that I had, I honestly, I forget exactly, but I know that there was like a handful that he was just lying about, but they all turned out to be proven not true. That I called Bob Costello, that Bob Costello was supposed to be part of my legal team, that Bob Costello was sending me all sorts of emails and so on,
Yes.
and trying to, right. All of this was a lie, right? I never had Bob as a lawyer. Bob was never my lawyer. Bob was somebody that was interjecting himself into my scenario because Rudy told him to, because Trump told, or someone in the administration told Rudy to have Bob Costello so that they would know who I'm talking to, what I'm doing, and so on.
Michael, there was an entire plot in writing that I have to discredit you.
Well, maybe what you'll do is you'll show it to me, and that way we can put it out there and let the media, for the first fucking time in their worthless lives, let them turn around and say, you know what? We apologize to you. Maybe just a simple apology would be enough. We apologize, for what we called you, the way we behaved. Remember, all the people turned around and said, well, Michael Cohen, Bob Costello would get out there. Michael Cohen's a liar. When he gets up on the stand for both the criminal and the civil cases against Trump, he's going to immediately be, he's going to be discredited. He's not trustworthy. Meanwhile, the ones who were sitting there making the statements are the ones that all plotted within which to discredit. It's really true. So I understand what you went through. The machine of government is so big. I could understand you being trapped, which again brings me to that whole power machinery, because you weren't just dealing with Rudy, as neither was I. You were dealing with the entire orbit, right? So you had Lev, you had Victoria Tunsing, you had Joe DeGeneva, you had Bernie Kerik. That's another piece of shit, right? You had the entire Trump legal misfit squad. Did any of them ever witness Rudy's behavior towards you or the state that he was in?
Yes, absolutely. Some of them have already come forward and stated that they've witnessed him groping me. Also, Cassidy Hutchinson came forward and said that she was also fondled or groped by Rudy Giuliani on January 6th, very sexy day, day that would turn on any good drunk, scotch loving, family values guy, right?
Yeah, that he is.
Get so turned on by January 6th that I would want to touch a woman's, I think Cassidy said her body, her upper body, her hands going under her shirt, she said, I believe, through her.
It's so I'm legitimately blown away, because Rudy's to me, he's such a disgusting looking human being. He was disgusting when he was young. As he got older, he is to me the living embodiment of the Penguin, right? I mean, seriously, I know, because I live very close to Rudy. or Rudy's old place before he lost it. So I'm
Oh,
sitting
yeah,
there
now
and
he's
I'm walking on.
and now he's in
What's that?
Florida. He's
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Palm Beach now. But
Yeah.
yeah, what's going on with the 66th Street place? That's your neighbor, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's very close. I think it's either he lost it already or whatnot. I don't really care. But I
Mm.
was walking on Madison Avenue heading home, and all of a sudden I look up because I was looking at my cell phone, which I probably shouldn't be doing when I'm walking. And
Yes, you should.
that's how you get hit by a city
You're a
cab.
New Yorker. You got to walk with a cell phone and you got to
I know.
jaywalk with your cell phone.
100%. That's how you get hit by the yellow cabs or the buses. Meanwhile, so I'm walking, and all of a sudden I look up, and Rudy is literally walking towards me with what appeared to be like a nurse. And he was like schlepping that back leg. He looked all fucking bloated. His hair was all disheveled. His suit was like just opened and like just looked like he had rolled it up into a ball, and just came out of like like
Out of
his
bed? Out of bed?
yeah, like he just rolled out of bed. And I look up and the woman turns around and says, "Don't talk to him, don't talk," because I turn around and go, "Holy shit, fucking Rudy Kaludi." Right? And she's like, just keep walking, because I don't give a fuck about him. But I was blown away because this penguin character, right, was so perverted. Even when I would see him at the Trump Hotel in DC.
Right.
And say what you want about Trump, right? A lot of people, they have comments about Trump and his behavior towards women. And so I'll tell you something. I've never seen Trump accept somebody else's actions like this. So I'm curious if Trump ever knew. Trump he would never approve of what Rudy was doing. In
I don't
fact,
think Trump would like a woman being groped by his
no.
lawyer. I mean, Trump wasn't telling you, hey, go hang out with Epstein and have sex with some girls. You didn't even meet Jeffrey Epstein, you said. I saw your interview. Well, let's just contrast you. Let's compare and contrast you, right? Who, you're a better lawyer than Giuliani is. You're obviously smarter than Giuliani is. You're more well-spoken. You're not drunk all the time.
No, I don't drink.
So then you're never drunk versus him who, we all know about his drinking. And
in fact, it's the only one thing that Rudy and I share. I like the only drink that I've ever had. I don't drink beer. I've never had a beer. I went through college without a single drink. I've never had beer. I don't drink wine because it gives me a headache. I don't like even the thoughts of champagne. I've never tried tequila, none of that. But I will have a single malt scotch, and only one kind, Glenlivet 12 on the rocks. But I have one. Like I'll have one with a dinner and not a second. So, all right, every now and then I'll have a second, but I've never been drunk. I've never thrown up, nothing like that. And my 2 at max will be over a course of like a 3-hour dinner. So, unlike Rudy, where it's just one after the other. I mean, I've watched him polish off bottle after bottle. I mean, I give him credit for the amount of, I thought maybe he had a fake leg, that the alcohol was going into. And so on. I'm not choking you there, but
Michael, I'm going to ask you a question because I am 100% sure of the answer.
There's nothing like a health scare in the family to slap you across the face with reality. A buddy of mine passed unexpectedly just a few weeks ago. No plan, no insurance, and his family was left scrambling just to keep the lights on. And I thought to myself, if that happened to me, what the hell would my family do? And that's when I realized protecting your family's future, it's not just smart. It gives you peace of mind so you can actually live in the present. Because the truth is, being a breadwinner means if you're gone, so's the paycheck. Mortgage, tuition, bills, they don't just disappear. And here's the good part. Ethos is an online platform that makes getting life insurance fast and easy to protect your family's future in minutes, not months. No complicated process, no medical exam, just a few health questions, and you can get a quote in as little as 10 minutes. Same-day coverage without even leaving your house. I mean, some policies are as low as $2 a day. As of March 2025, Business Insider even named Ethos the #1 no medical exam instant life insurance provider. And 3 million families have already trusted Ethos to help them find the right coverage. So here's what you need to do. Protect your family with life insurance from Ethos. Get your free quote at ethos.com/Cohen. That's ethos.com/Cohen. Application times may vary, rates may vary. Sample rate for a 10-year term life policy for 35-year-old healthy, non-smoking male. So don't wait. Tomorrow isn't promised, but you know what is? Peace of mind. You know, when I think back on my own life, there were days when I felt like trouble was following me, like it had me on GPS. And that's exactly what debt feels like. It doesn't show up with sirens blaring, it sneaks up on you. A bill here, a fee there, a number you swear was smaller last month, and then suddenly, boom. You're wondering why your account looks like it entered witness protection without you. At first, the clues don't connect, but step back, and the pattern? Crystal clear. Credit card debt is the suspect hiding in plain sight. It follows you like a shadow, and just when you think that you're finally safe, again, it strikes. Locked accounts, vanishing paychecks, futures rearranged without your permission. PDS debt has helped hundreds of thousands escape that mess. And if they can help them, they can help you too. Whether it's credit cards, personal loans, medical bills, especially medical bills, whatever financial chaos is keeping you up at night, PDS debt actually listens. They go beyond the spreadsheet. They look at your specific situation and create a personalized plan that fits your life. No minimum credit score, no judgment, just a real strategy to help you save more, to pay it down faster, and to finally put money back where it belongs, your pocket. And look, PDS, it's A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau. Thousands of 5-star reviews, 5 stars on Trustpilot. I mean, people swear by them for a reason. They get results. I mean, if I had needed this kind of help back in the day, this is exactly who I would have called. So don't wait for debt to make its next move. You're 30 seconds away from getting ahead of it. Get your free assessment and find the best option for you right now at pdsdebt.com/Cohen. That's P like Peter, D like David, S like Sam, debt, DEBT.com/Cohen. One more time, pdsdebt.com/Cohen. Go there now.
Not only does Rudy drink scotch, and one of my jobs was to bring him a bottle of scotch for breakfast almost every day. And when we were in hotel suites, it was to order the liquor through the room service menu. But okay, so let's say you were being set up by Sacha Baron Cohen. I just can't imagine you would be as stupid as he was, because who would? If you're being interviewed, let's say there's a little, a young journalist. Hi, I'm a high school journalist. I'm 15. Let's sit down and do an interview. Okay. So even if you say yes to that and she and you have a bottle of scotch in front of you, would you drink scotch, even one scotch with a 15-year-old and let her illegally drink underage on video?
No. I mean, it's different. It's funny because when I was also one of 3 people on the board of the Miss Universe organization. It was Donald, Alan Weisselberg, and me, which is funny because all 3 of us are felons. Right now we are, right? Which is kind of interesting. But I remember we would be up there on the stage, myself and a whole group of Trump folks, with all the girls. And the first thing Trump said, okay, girls, stop looking at Michael. Don't look at Michael. He's married a long time and he's a faithful husband, right? Basically saying, hey, look at me, right? Instead, which was funny. I mean, Donald actually had a funny sense of humor. People don't realize that.
I do.
It's cutting, right? Yeah. It's cutting, but
he can be very charming. And so can Giuliani. I mean, at times, at least in my warped mind at the time.
I never saw Rudy the same way. I never saw him as being charming. I always found Rudy just to be a pig. I always found him to be a pig.
Yes.
So let me ask you this, because you've talked about keeping evidence because you didn't trust the system to protect you. And by the way, fair. Now, to be honest with you, Noel, I wish you would have called me when all this
I
was
did.
going
I
down.
don't think
Like,
you
for
saw
example,
my emails.
no, I did not. Well,
And I offered
like,
you evidence. And during the trial, I offered you evidence about Costello. So first I offered you my files and my evidence about you. And I even emailed some of them to you, but you never replied. So I'm thinking,
I bet you have the wrong. I bet you have the wrong. You probably sent it to the Trump org email. You didn't
no,
send
I
it to
don't
my
think I'm that
personal.
stupid. I would not
All
be,
right. Well,
say anything with Trump's name on him because it was your stuff.
trust me. Trust me on this. If somebody was sending me, I would have definitely taken
Yeah,
a
I
look
think I
because
went to
I.
your spam, Michael,
Yeah, it might have because I never
or
saw it.
something.
Anyway,
Yeah.
let me go back to the evidence because again, like I said, and rightfully so, you didn't trust the system to protect you.
Well,
What was the
I
what
wouldn't quite say it that way. I mean, I now have lawyers and they don't trust anyone with any of my files,
okay?
my emails. It's not me. I mean, I have actually given some of my files to certain people when I think it's appropriate and I
Mhm.
use my judgment.
So then what was the moment, the night, the incident, whatever it was, when you ultimately realized that you had to document everything to survive Rudy?
That's a great question, Michael. So I documented everything all the time anyway. I always
Okay.
document things. I mean, I don't tape record people all day long and all night long like he and I did, but we did it by accident. So first of all, Rudy's crazy. We've established that. Rudy's drunk. He would hit the record button on my devices, Michael, and he never turned it off. So 2 days later, sometimes I would notice that my old iPhone is still recording. And I'm thinking, oh my God. So it has, these are tape recordings that have like, you could hear Rudy urinating, like you can hear Rudy singing. I mean, I'm sleeping in a hotel suite sometimes. So not that anyone wants to picture this. I'm in a 3-bedroom hotel suite. Rudy Giuliani is also staying in the 3-bedroom hotel suite. All of that is caught on tape. And it was not pretty. It was not consensual. It was a power dynamic. Power corrupts. We all know what can happen when there's a man who is your boss and he demands certain things and he is taking a lot of Viagra and he insists that I have to take care of this. And he points at his penis. I take care of this before we can get to work. And that's every morning. And,
Wow.
it was a lot of Viagra and I don't even understand how it could work after the scotch, but everything worked. And unfortunately for me, I had to stay with him in these hotel suites on all our business trips because Rudy was, I mentioned to you once before, he was locked out of all 6 of his luxury homes. His ex-wife was allowed by the divorce judge to change the locks on all 6
Mhm.
homes. He had to rent a 7th home and he had to stay in hotels in Florida and anywhere we went for business. He no longer had a vacation home in Palm Beach.
Yeah.
She was allowed to have both of them. They had 2 vacation homes in Palm Beach and she got to have both of them during the entire
Well,
divorce.
that's because he never was. That's because he never paid her the the settlement that he was supposed to, and so the court just awarded her the properties, instead within which to make up the value. But I do want to ask you this because there was talk about the end of 2020, if I'm not mistaken, where Rudy believed that Trump owed him a pardon. I mean, I remember when that idiot put that dye on his head, went out to that Four Seasons landscaping right next to the morgue and the sex shop, dripping down his fucking face. I remember him turning around and saying once that he had an insurance policy on Trump. You have any
Yeah.
idea what the hell he was talking about? Because I never found that out. I've
I have
actually
the same,
searched.
I have the same insurance policy.
Okay. And can you tell us what it is?
It's blackmail files.
Oh, I see. I see. So he has blackmail files on Trump. All right. So
Also,
that being,
not just on Trump, Michael.
oh, okay. Who else?
I mean, I'm considering even announcing at some point soon, maybe this week, the names of some of the VIP co-conspirators of Jeffrey Epstein. There's a lot in my files that I'm supposed to save for a trial, but because the court is, let's call it possibly corrupt, I have not even been given a real hearing yet to start the process of getting to a trial. My case has been allowed to be delayed by a conniving, disgusting, predatory Rudy Giuliani. So I can't release my files in court, including
Understood.
insurance policy. And Michael, that is why Rudy always said, I have immunity. He said to me many times about Farah and about all the other crimes that he was doing, don't worry, I have immunity. And I said, immunity, former mayors don't have immunity. I looked it up. I double checked this with lawyers. They all told me just because you run for president and lose, Rudy Giuliani could have been our president, but he couldn't even win the Republican primary. John McCain won and then Obama won. But just because Rudy ran for president, I said, Rudy, you don't have immunity. Maybe you're confused. Maybe you're drunk. Maybe you're getting old and senile. But, Rudy, with all due respect, you don't have immunity. It's not the way the law works. And I didn't even know that President Trump had immunity back then. But now I know that the Supreme Court said President Trump has immunity. Presidents have immunity. Not their disgraced lawyers, their former lawyers who are disbarred, as Giuliani is, and he's disbarred for a good reason. For many reasons. So this thing of having immunity and having the insurance policy, he's been so smug and so confident because his entire life he's gotten away with crimes. You know that, Michael.
So let's just bounce into something else here, because you said that Rudy and Jeffrey Epstein, as an example, share a similar arrogance, because that's really what it is. It's an arrogance, the belief that rules are for other people. When you compare their patterns, what specifically overlaps in how they treated women around them?
So it's a modus operandus of bullies and sexual predators. Harvey Weinstein followed the same path of how, Jeffrey Epstein and Rudy Giuliani, they threaten the victim. So I knew if I called the police on him, my life is ruined. He doesn't go to jail. He's an extremely powerful man, as was Jeffrey Epstein, as was Harvey Weinstein, as was Sean Combs, extremely wealthy, successful people who have friends in high places. They have, that phrase from Bob Costello, you have friends in high places. You're supposed to be bailed out. You're supposed to be not charged. You're supposed to be pulled over for drunk driving, but the police say, oh, it's okay. Let's just give you a ride to the closest hotel. And, oh, it's Mayor Giuliani. No problem. Oh, we love you from 9/11. And of course, the irony with that is he always said 9/11 was the greatest day of his life. And that's shameful because people died on 9/11. It was not the greatest day. It was a terrible.
Yeah, for him it was, because it made him from a piece of shit garbage mayor into America's mayor. But I do want to ask you this, because as your case now moves towards trial, or at least more hearings, what's the biggest misconception that people still have about Rudy? The myth that needs to be demolished once and for all?
He was never America's mayor. He fooled us. He tricked us into thinking he was. He had you, Michael, and all of us, the taxpayers. He had us pay for 40 PR people to convince us that he is America's mayor. And you know what? He fooled me. He was my childhood hero. And then my childhood hero, when I got to know him, turned out to be a predator. And I'm talking about underage girls. I'm talking about me. I'm not an underage girl, but I'm still a person. I should have some human rights. I was not respected. My rights were violated left and right being around him, and I couldn't leave. And I think people have a misconception that I could leave.
Yeah, I'm with you 100%. People don't understand that. It's not, You can't. You can't just pick yourself up and leave, not when you're being targeted by powerful people. So final question for you as the hour comes to an end here. Imagine that Rudy Kaluti's actually listening to this podcast, or Bob the fuckface Costello on
If
his
he can
behalf.
hear, he's so old.
Right. So not drunk, not ranting, not hiding behind lawyers, just actually listening. What would you tell Rudy today that you've never said publicly?
Oh my God. Oh God, I'm going to cry. Oh. I can't even say anything. I think I'd rather say something to President Trump. I'd rather give a message to President Trump that this man is not loyal to you. This man insults and badmouths and incriminates President Trump. And this Rudy Giuliani does not deserve a pardon. He does not deserve the Medal of Freedom. So to all the people who deserved a Medal of Honor, a Medal of Freedom, any medal, what a disgrace to add Rudy Giuliani's name to that list when he was stripped of his honorary degrees at every university that gave him an honorary degree. He has been removed from the list of honored graduates at Manhattan College, where he went to college with my father.
Well, Noelle, thank you for joining me today on Mea Culpa. Appreciate. I will definitely be reaching out to you to make sure that you have the proper email address, because I would love to see it, and I would love to then put it out there. The same way that, for example, this Stacey Plaskett, imagine, they're all no good. The absolute power corrupts absolutely. And I think that's what I'm going to call this specific podcast.
It is an apt title. You are 100% right, Michael. Power corrupts. And not all powerful people are bad. I know that. And I think most men are good-hearted, like my father, like the men in my family, like the men I know. Most men are good-hearted. You know, I'm not a rape victim who's bitter or angry at men. I like men. I respect men and women and all people. But when there are these men who take their power and say, oh, I'm above the law, that's where we get into trouble.
Amen to that. Noelle, thank you for joining me.
Thank you, Mike.